All right, Jim, welcome. Thank you so much for doing this Facebook Live with us and doing this video with us. We have so many questions for you. Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here and glad to try to help sort out the mess that seems to be out there and help people understand a little clearer about unemployment where I can.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. It's so important. I want to do a quick intro and then we'll just get into it, okay?
Sounds good.
All right. So Jim Sorensen is here with us today. He has a 31-year career with DES, which started in 1989 with job service as an employment interviewer and a dislocated worker case manager in Casa Grande. In 2005, he was promoted to local office supervisor in employment service for Casa Grande, Globe, and Payson offices. He served as the Gila Pinal Workforce Investment Board for 6 years and also on the board of the local SHRM chapter as membership chair. In September of 2011, he transferred to the position of client advocate manager in the Unemployment Administration. And then in 2019, congratulations, Jim was promoted to regional program manager overseeing 7 offices in Maricopa and Pinal counties. He has also been a master of ceremonies for several conferences in Phoenix, Casa Grande, and Tucson. His passion is serving others in the community and takes his role in DES to heart, believing it is his privilege as a public servant to assist the citizens of Arizona. And I must say, he's a phenomenal singer-songwriter. I hope I can say that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We've seen you on stage in front of our program, so thank you so much.
It's my pleasure, Jessica, to help you and your organization. I think you do great work out there. So I'm happy to be here. Awesome.
Thank you so much. So I've been doing some short little videos over the last couple of weeks trying to help people navigate the craziness that's going on right now. And we're getting inundated with unemployment questions, as I'm sure you are right now. So I thought I'd bring in a true expert to answer some of these questions. And so to kick us off, can you just take a couple minutes here and just kind of give an overview of unemployment insurance, you know, the process, what it is, just kind of give us that overview.
I'll try to get it in a 2 minutes time slot because it's a complex program, but the unemployment insurance program was created when the Great Depression happened back in the 30s. And it's a federal program, but it was allowed, the states were allowed to administer it their own way with certain guidelines. So Arizona has its own way of doing the unemployment program and other states have different ways of doing it, but they do have a common thread. A big misconception with unemployment is that individuals in Arizona pay into that system, and they do not. Employers pay a specific unemployment tax for individuals who work for them. And so that is reported every quarter to the unemployment tax department. And that is how we determine if people are monetarily eligible or not. So it is not taxes that the individual or employee is paying. It is an employer-based tax system. And obviously the more claims against a particular employer, their tax rate will go up, just like auto insurance. So it is unemployment, it's job insurance that is literally set up in Arizona to help an individual who loses a job by no fault of their own. So that's just a brief overview to kind of get the table set. If that's what you're looking for, Jessica?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. I think there's so much misunderstanding with, do I pay it? Does an employer pay it? Who pays it? So it's employer paid and it's supported by the Treasury. Is that correct?
Yes. And something it's called a trust fund, but something else that I think is important to remember is it doesn't matter if you've worked 30 years somewhere. The only period of time unemployment is looking at is what we call the base period, the last 5 quarters. And right now the base period is all 4 quarters in 2019. So if you lose your job in April of this year, we're looking at that slice of time. So if somebody worked 30 years and was laid off at the end of 2018 and hadn't been working in 2019, we're only looking at that slice of time, unlike a Social Security where they consider your whole work history in terms of getting your Social Security benefits. So I just wanted to show the difference of those so people understand what qualifies to be a monetarily eligible claimant and where they may fall out of that category.
Okay, great, thank you. So talk to us about qualifications. Who qualifies for unemployment? And you know, we were doing a lot of talking about laid off or self-employed. All of that is in the news right now. So who qualifies?
So as I explained, since normally self-employed 1099 workers or individuals that have their own businesses that don't pay into that tax system normally don't qualify for regular unemployment, because again, that's all based on the taxes that these employers are doing. So in normal times, individuals who applied, we would show no wages in that base period. However, because of the whole COVID crisis and the Senate CARES Act, individuals who normally wouldn't qualify for the regular unemployment, if I could call it that, they will qualify for the pandemic unemployment assistance. So, we at DES are working as quickly as we can to get all these pieces in place, because our system was designed only to work with those that monetarily qualify in our system. And now all of a sudden we have thousands of individuals that normally would be out of the system and we wouldn't have to deal with them. So those individuals, we're working very, very hard to get everything in place so that we can pay them out. So again, to be real clear, self-employed, 1099, Uber drivers, all those individuals, they can go ahead and apply for unemployment. They're initially going to get a statement that says, you don't have any wages, you don't qualify, which is how our system was set up. We haven't been able to move fast enough to be able to send something else out to these individuals. However, what we're telling these individuals to do is to go ahead, don't worry about that monetary wage statement right now. Go ahead and file your weekly claims and wait for the department to get the system set up so that we can include them on the special pandemic payments that are coming.
Awesome. And I want to go into that extra pandemic payments and that process in just a minute. I want to talk about the increase, though, for two reasons. One, what are the typical turnaround times for unemployment applications? And I know you've seen an extensive, I don't even know if that's big enough word, an extensive increase in unemployment applications. So has that affected that? Tell us about that.
So yes, we've had an explosion, I think is a better word, an explosion of interest in claims in the system. And we're working really, really hard to the turnaround time. And so normally in the old system, it would take about 14 calendar days for an individual to get their first payment. We're trying really, really hard to stay on that time frame, doing the best we can, but again, the numbers continue to rise. If somebody files a claim and has a particular issue, we call them an issue. So if there's something that's preventing them from getting payments, and the department sends out questionnaires to them, normally the time frame is 21 days to resolve those. We're working really, really hard to try to keep that time frame in place. But again, it's a real challenge. But again, DES is doing everything it can to get the benefits to individuals as quickly as possible. And so, our efforts is to try to keep in those time frames. But, we're doing the best we can.
Yeah, that's great. I know you guys, the unemployment office has brought additional people on because of this explosion. There are some things that they're trying to do to make sure they're doing their best to meet those timelines. Is that right? Yes.
So we now have hired additional individuals. We're up to 150 folks. We've actually added DES workers from another division to actually help with the call center and take a lot of those new claims and questions over the phone. In addition, on the website, we have a chat box or a chat bot, I believe it's artificial intelligence. I think we're changing his name from Sean to Dave, but either way, so an individual has a question, it'll automatically give them a response and hopefully answer some of those questions. So we're really trying innovative ways to reach out to everybody, as well as, DES has a Facebook page, a Twitter page. So, I would encourage people to go on to that to see the latest information as well. Eventually, we'd like to have a live chat feature on the website. We don't have that up and running yet, but that's another way, simply because I think they've said on the news, 70 calls per second, which in my mind, I calculated 490 calls a minute coming into a call. And there's no call center in our country that could probably handle that kind of volume. So we're looking for other ways to hopefully be able to answer questions and reach out to individuals, because again, the system was designed to handle a certain type of individual. And now we have all these people outside that we normally wouldn't handle. that are asking questions because the system wasn't designed to specifically address their unique situation.
That's right. And just to give some context to this, I think the average is around 3,500 claims a week. Is that correct?
You mean, yes, it was 3,500 new claims a week. And the last 3 weeks, I can say we took over 250,000 new claims. So, you know, if you have...
In 1 month or 3 weeks, you have taken more claims than you have for the entire year of 2019.
Yes, and that doesn't count the week that we're in right now. So, you know, you can probably, you know, put another at least 100,000 claims onto that number. So yes, it's an overwhelming amount. And I know the leadership is working tirelessly to figure out ways that we can reach out to everybody, not just rely on the call center. We've left some employment service centers open in Phoenix area to leave the resource rooms available for people who don't have computer knowledge. So we have some folks working out on the front lines with masks, helping when the rest of the community is closed down because we're an essential business. So we're trying to do everything we can in person or offering them help through telephone services in each of those local offices. So we're trying more than just the call center or even the website to reach out to the community and be there for them.
Yeah, so one of the things we're asking from people, even though it's a very difficult time for many, is just please be patient and please kind because the DES office does want to help. And so they will get through your claim, but we're asking for that patience. Okay, let's talk about the appeals process. So I'm hearing people are getting denied. It might be because of that 1099 or some other issues, the wage statements, but talk to us, should people appeal and what's that process?
So yeah, people are, when they get that wage statement that shows the base period quarters that I talked about, they're not being denied. What they're being basically said is you don't have any wages, so from what we can see, you don't qualify. On the back of that wage statement, there's a wage protest that they could do if indeed they do have countable wages with an employer, because that happens sometimes and the employer didn't report the wages to us. But if they're a gig worker, 1099, and obviously they're not going to be there, they're not denied. It's simply they're not in our system. So we want them to continue to file weekly claims. It's very important once they open their claim, and I'm talking to the 1099ers and the self-employed, that they file those weekly claims, because if they let more than 2 weeks lapse, they go into an inactive status, and it's very difficult at this point, the way the system is designed, to get them reactivated again. So whatever you're doing, waiting to get through to us, please file those weekly claims. The work search has been waived. So just answer the questions, keep that going until we can catch up to all these individuals that, you know, we need to provide the assistance to.
Oh, that's so good. Thank you. You just said the work search is waived. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yes. So Arizona passed a law in 2012 that required that every claimant put 4 days of work search, at least one employer per day, in every single claim. That was just waived. And so at this point, because of the coronavirus, that's understandable. It's been waived until this whole crisis is over. So when you go onto the weekly claim, it's actually grayed out. You won't have to put that in there. You just click next and it'll take you to the next part of the weekly claim. So that has been waived for the time being.
And is there an end date on that we know of yet?
We don't know, I believe. I think until the legislation changes. So probably at least through the summer, maybe perhaps the rest of the year.
Okay. All right, let's jump into the stimulus funding. So many questions about this. So I want to specifically talk about this $600 weekly addition to unemployment. When will that start to, do we know when will that start to be paid out in Arizona?
So we do know for a certain group of individuals. So remember, I talked about those individuals that are in the system that have a monetarily eligible claim because they work for an employer and they're getting $240 a week, which is the maximum. So those individuals should start seeing their federal stimulus payments next week, pay out next week. And the first week that...
The week of April 13th, correct?
Right, okay. Right. And the first week that'll be counted is the week ending April. We always look at the Saturday. So the week ending April 4th, the first week in April, will be the first week that $600 is applied to, moving all the way. The end date to that in Arizona is the week ending July 25th, unless something changes. Okay. So those individuals next week should start seeing those payments arrive. The other individuals who are our 1099 self-employed individuals that are kind of out of the system, the department is working very, very hard to create an additional system to get those payments out. So they would not be getting the 240 plus the 600. Those individuals would be getting the 600. We are working as fast as we can. I don't have an ETA on that, but as soon as that's up and running, it will back pay everybody who's been filing those weekly claims. So that's why it's critical that they do that for now, even if they think they have a denial, you know, they see the denial letter, nothing's happening, zero balance. Please keep filing those weekly claims, because once we get that system in place, we will back pay all those individuals, and we're working as fast as we can.
That's so good. So let me just clarify a couple things. For the payment, the $600 payments, they will be retroed back to starting, let's see, Sunday, March 29th through Saturday, April 4th. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is the first week, and they'll be eligible for anybody, the $600 payments, correct.
So if people are applied for unemployment on April 5th or 6th, it will be retroed back to that week.
Right. It'll be retroed back to the week that they opened the claim and started going. So if somebody didn't file last week, but they're filing this week, which they still can do on Friday, this will be the first week that they get the $600 payment.
And we say retroed back, and that means that money will be sent at some time.
Correct.
Starting next week for some people. Correct. Okay, great. Okay, so let me see. Also, I have, is $600 a flat fee, or is that also based on wages?
That is a flat fee. So it's not based on the wages. So again, it'll be either added to the ones who are already eligible for $240 a week, or it'll be the only payment that the individuals get that don't get the $240 a week. So everybody will get that $600. There's not going to be any levels or layers at all to that payment.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you. And then my last, I think my last question is, people that were already applying for unemployment prior to the stimulus approval, stimulus package approval, will they also be qualified for the additional 600?
Yes. So they will start getting it that first week that we talked about. So if they were getting $240 a week in March, that first week in April, that $600 will be added to them. So basically everybody in the unemployment system will be getting that $600 a week. It's just going to take a little longer to get those individuals that, quote, are the 1099 self-employed individuals kicked in. But again, their best bet is to file that weekly claim. And we are actually going to send out some notices to everybody next week outlining that. So individuals that are in our system, those that are monetarily eligible and those that are not, are going to get some notices that outline that as well. So the department is working on that, and they should see those notices arrive next week. That'll hopefully clarify some of these questions. And I would just tell the people that are waiting for the payment, we are working as fast as we can. We're working with a vendor to get the system set up and going. And so please be patient with us, but know that we're not in any way holding back. And those individuals that are in our system are going to see that payment starting to come next week.
Great. Oh my goodness. So much good information. So let me just recap a couple things. First of all, if somebody does need to apply for unemployment, it's azui.com. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
azui.com. The call volume is exceedingly high right now. So if there's any possibility for people to get their questions answered online, I believe there's a FAQ section. You also have multiple documents. We will make sure to have the correct documents loaded up on our website as well, so people can reference that. And I heard you say over and over and over again, file weekly, no matter what. Keep filing every single week.
Absolutely. And one thing I want to add to that is if somebody has let a week lapse, they can go back 2 weeks.
Oh.
So that is good. So if you haven't, like, oh my gosh, I haven't, you can go back 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, the claim goes inactive. We can reactivate it, but it gets a little more complicated for those 1099 self-employed. So it's really important those folks don't let more than 2 weeks go by. It's just best to do it every Sunday. If you do it every Sunday as a habit, then you know you've got it in. And then again, wait for us to get everything set up for them.
Great. Well, this information has been so valuable, Jim. Is there anything else you'd like to add to the conversation before we wrap up here?
No, I just want to say that, my 31 years, never experienced anything like this. And I can tell you that the leadership team around me, myself, the people on the front lines in the offices, I've called them economic first responders. They're out there putting themselves at risk to make sure that people who don't have computers can come into our offices. So I just want to thank all the TES team. I think they're doing a phenomenal job. We're doing the best we can, and know that our goal is to get everybody paid as quickly and timely as possible.
Well, in the 10 years that I've known you, Jim, I have seen you work with so many people, greatly respect you, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to me and our audience. We really appreciate it today. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Jessica. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.